So it's week 10, and we're going to talk a little bit about safety and what safety means to us and how um, we access safety depending on where we are. Um, for me, safety involves not only from my environment but also from myself and from my body. So for me, taking care of myself and taking care of my body is a huge thing in being safe. A lot of self-care. I'm a huge advocate for self-care. And really, you got to do what you got to do to feel safe in your own body. And whatever that may be, it's up to you. But at the end of the day, you should love yourself and love your body. Sometimes when we think about safety of our surroundings, we don't necessarily think safety when it comes to the internet. If we do have the privilege of owning a computer, having access to an internet, um, there's a lot of hostile environments on the internet. There's a lot of trolls on there, a lot of transphobic, homophobic, racist comments um, everywhere on the internet. And I know that it affects me a lot. It affects my mental well-being when I see comments like that. I just get so angry. I get so frustrated. I get really depressed. I get really sad that there's folks out there that are making these horrible comments just because they can. And for me, I'm becoming more cognizant of it, that of how I react to those comments. So for me, I know I personally try to stay away from those comments. I stay away from reading articles that I know that's gonna affect me. Um, some people like to know know the enemy and be able to form retaliations against it for future arguments. For me, I have a hard time reading those things, and I know I can't. So for me, safety means staying away from things on the internet that I know are going to be triggers for me. But really, I think the biggest thing with safety that people think about is safety from our surroundings and our environment. And living in Kentucky and living in the South, um, safety from my surroundings is really important for me as a queer person, as a trans person, as a person of color. It's it's a necessity. So really, depending on where you live, this may or may not be as much of an issue for you. But for me, I live in Kentucky. Kentucky's from the South. It's not deep South, but it's from the South. It can be, and really depending on where you are, it can be pretty hostile to queer and trans folks. And then you add the visibly Asian part, and that just makes things a little bit more apparent. So for me, I have to be extra vigilant around of my surroundings when I travel outside of where I live, or when I go traveling in the South, or really when I go traveling to really any place that I'm not familiar with, places where I don't know where I can be safe in. Um, um, and as I inherit more and more male privileges, as I pass more, um, I'm not going to be clocked as often, which means I'm probably not going to be approached as often. And there's a lot of privilege behind passing and behind being perceived as male. I'm actually more afraid to be approached and confronted for being a person of color than being trans. Really, I'm really lucky to live in a very progressive city in Kentucky, let alone the South. So I don't have to be as vigilant of my surroundings in this city as opposed to outside the city or other locations. I stay in areas and spaces that I know I'm going to be really safe and that I don't have to worry as much. But when I'm traveling, say, even traveling up north or um, places that are, I guess, a lot more progressive than my city, I still choose to stay in groups of people that I feel safe in. I travel with a lot of great friends, a lot of great allies, And I let people know where I am and where I'm going. So if I do end up um, not showing up when I'm supposed to or not being where I'm supposed to, people can keep tabs on me and make sure that I'm okay, and they can call me and make sure I'm okay. So I put systems in place that assure that I can be safe, and if not, I have backup plans to make have other people make sure that I'm safe. So depending on where you live and how you navigate those systems, with your own personal um, personalities, your own personal ideas of safety. It's really up to you, but that's how I handle things. That's how I navigate my surroundings. Uh, I don't have too much to say about this topic, but I'm really interested and excited to hear about how everyone else on this channel talks about this topic. So I'm actually on time this week. Yay. And I will hopefully see you in 2 weeks.